everyone, I am CS Surbi Pishi, India Tax Expert at ClearTax, and today we are here to understand about the recent GST changes and its impact on the businesses. But before we even start our session, I just want to check if you all are able to hear me or not. So if you are able to hear me, just say hi on the chat box. Great. So it seems like everyone is able to hear me. So with this, we'll just start our today's session, which is on detailed analysis on GST changes and its impact on the businesses. So we know that recently there have been a lot of changes when it comes to GST, but one of the important change is in our 3B filing, like how exactly we even file 3B, how the government have started like looking into that they are going to compare the value with the GSTR 2B and then we have to show the corresponding value in our GSTR 3B. So that's the one of the important change, because if we have seen in the last return also, right, when we look into the taxpayer who have not done this reversal properly or who have not shown the ITC value as per the recent changes which government have done, then the department have also started issuing the notices. So they have started receiving the notices because of that. So in today's session, we are going to understand in detail about these changes and how exactly we have to prepare our GSTR 3B. So we'll discuss about that part in detail. So the important change in our GSTR 3B filing is table number 4. Now, when I'm saying table 4, if we look before August 2022, so this changes is not like it is applicable from November, but we know that most of us have still not started following that rules because it's really complicated, or I would say it's really very confusing for us to how exactly or what exactly we have to do while we are preparing our GSTR 3B. So in today's session, we are going to understand about this part in detail. So if we talk about what were or how exactly our 3B looks like before August 2022, so we used to always have three main part, which is 4A, 4B, 4C. Then there was something called 4D, where we just used to declare that. It is only for the declaration purpose. So if we look into the 4A part, it actually talks about your ITC available. When we talk about 4B, it always talks about ITC reversed. Then we have 4C. This is the net ITC available, and this was the value which used to go to our electronic credit ledger also. Then there was 4D, which is ineligible ITC, and this is only for the declaration part. Here we were not adding this value, we were not even subtracting this value. So whatever are ineligible ITC as per 17.5 or any other ineligible ITC, we used to show this under 4D as an others or under 17.5. Now when we look into the changes, as per the forms, you would see there is not much changes. But when you actually start implementing that, or when you actually put in the value over here, you will actually understand that there are a lot of changes. There are a lot of things which we have to now start tracking. We have to look into the document which is coming in 2B but not in my PR. I have to keep on track that documents. I have to look into the document which was ineligible as per me, but it is appearing in my 2B. So now I also have to reconcile such kinds of document. So we will anyhow discuss about all of these changes in detail. But first, let's look into the changes here. What is the upfront changes, right? What exactly are the changes in the form itself? So when we look into 4A, this is ITC available. Then again 4B, this is ITC reverse. Then we have 4C, which is net ITC. And then we have 4D, these are other details, which is again only for the declaration purpose. So at a high level, if you look into the things, they are same, right? So 4A, we used to show ITC available. 4B, we used to show ITC reverse. 4C is the net ITC. And when we look into the 4D, it is just other details, which is again for the declaration purpose. But now when we go in deep, now here, if inside 4A we say there's an import of goods, import of services, inward supply liable to RCM, inward supply from ISD or all other ITC, this information are again same. But when you look into the 4B, earlier we used to see there is something called as per rule 42, 43 and others. But now they have also shown as per section 38, as per section 17 subsection 5 of CGST. Whereas 17.5 earlier was under 4D. right? If we see what was or how exactly our 3B forms looks before August 2022, so that 17.5 was under 4D, which was for declaration purpose. We were never adding, we were never subtracting, but now if you just see that information, that is coming in 4B, right? So 4B1, we are seeing some figure as 17 subsection 5 of CGST, and then in 4B we also have something called others. Then we again see 4D. Earlier there was something called as per section 17.5 or something called others. Now when we look into 4D, they have written something as there is some ITC which is reclaimed, which was reversed in 4B2 in the earlier tax period. And they have also introduced something called ineligible ITC under section 16.4 and ITC restricted due to POS provision. This is something they have shown and which we can see upfront, right? What exactly are the changes in the form. But now let's understand this with the help of example and how exactly we have to fill our GSTR 3B form. Now let me take first example. There is a purchases which you have made. Let's assume that you are registered in the state of Karnataka. And when you are registered in the state of Karnataka and you don't have any other registration, assume that you don't have any registration in any other state, right? When you have a registration in the state of Karnataka, there was some business event, there was some meeting which you had to attend, which was in Delhi. And when you have to attend this meeting, what you said that, okay, I want to book an hotel over there in Delhi, and you booked a hotel there. That hotelier, they asked for your GSTN. You shared your GSTN number, which is your Karnataka GSTN. And we all understand that as per the place of supply provisions, in case of the immobile property, the place of the supply is the state where that immobile property is situated, right? So then when this hotelier, they raises an invoice on you, they mention the customer GSTN as your Karnataka GSTN. When they mention the place of supply, they would have mentioned Delhi because as per the place of supply provision, the state, actually the location, the place of supply was Delhi. And when we look into the supplier, where exactly the supplier was registered, he was also registered in the state of Delhi. So when this person, the hotelier, was registered in the state of Delhi, they would have charged CGST, HST. Because we all understand when the supplier state and the place of supply are in the same state, they have to charge CGST, SGST. Now when we look as per section 16, right, we know that there's another condition also which has been clearly mentioned over there, that you cannot claim the ITC which is declared as an ineligible in your 2B, right? Whatever is considered as a ITC which is not available as per your 2B, you cannot claim that ITC. And this is one important part. Wherever your place of supply, right, whatever the place of supply which has been mentioned by the supply in their GSTR 1 does not match with the state in which you are registered, in that particular case you are not eligible to claim this ITC. So if you now open your GSTR 2B, when you look into this 2B form, we know that this 2B has been divided into two parts. One is ITC available, another is ITC not available. So under this ITC not available, whenever the place of supply which has been mentioned by the supplier is not matching with your state, and the case example I gave you is one example is immobile property example, where this supplier would have mentioned the place of supply as Delhi, whereas you are registered in the state of Karnataka. So this place of supply was not matching. So in this particular case, you are not eligible to claim ITC. Now the department say, whatever is coming in your GSTR 2B as ITC not available, you directly report this information under section table 4D2 of GSTR 3B. You don't have to add this information under all other ITC. You don't have to subtract this information anywhere. You directly report this information under table 4D2 of GSTR 3B form. This is one important change, because today if you ask me, right, what exactly we were doing, today we were not even reporting this transaction, right? So here now department says that we have to just show this information under 4D2. Now I could see there is one query from Nagaraj who is saying, what if the hotelier would have given IGST? So Nagaraj, if you ask me, for the hotelier example, the every supplier has to register in the state from where they are exactly providing the services or goods, right? So this hotelier, because they are doing the supply of these services from Delhi, they have to mandatory registered in the state of Delhi. So here, if this hotelier is registered in the state of Delhi, right, they will always charge CGST, HGST only. But there can be other cases. So not for the hotelier case, I would say, but there can be cases where the place of supply is actually not matching with the state in which you're registered, even if they have mentioned or they would have charged IGST. There can always be cases like that where they would have charged IGST, but still the state is not matching with your state. The place of supply, which has been mentioned by the supply, is not matching with your state. In that case, also you are not eligible to claim that ITC. And in that case, you will always see this is an ITC not available as per your GSTR 2B, and accordingly, you have to directly report this information in table number 4D2. Right. So this was one part. Now let me talk about, because we can also see that there is something called section 16.4. So what exactly is this section 16.4? So we all understand that there is another thing called time bar thing. We know that as per the recent changes which was done by the government, you can claim that ITC, which is related to a particular financial year, maximum by 30th of November. Right? You can claim ITC of a particular financial year till the next year, 30th November. Right? So that was the time limit which they have extended. And when I say 30th November, which means return period, because I am going to claim this ITC in my GSTR 3B, and I can file my GSTR 3B for the month of October by this, let's say, by this 20th of November. So in October return itself, I can claim any pending ITC which is related to, for example, my 2021. So, or maybe, sorry, 21-22. So if I talk about FY 21-22, maximum I can claim ITC till my October return period. I may do some delay in filing my GSTR 3B. Let's say I have filed my October return on 30th November. So let me ask you this question. Let's assume that I have filed my GSTR 3B for the month of October 2022. And in that 3B, I had added some ITC which was related to my financial year FY 21-22. And I filed this return on 20th of November. Am I eligible to claim that ITC? So my question was, I had some ITC for FY 21-22, and I have shown that in my GSTR 3B for the month of October 2022, and I filed my GSTR 3B on 20th of November. Am I eligible to claim this ITC or not? I could see the answer. Answer from Jignesh says yes, Saga says yes, Kavita says yes, Ganesh says yes, Sumesh says, Nishit says yes, Dipali says. So everyone is saying yes, and which is again the right answer. Now let me ask you another question. You have filed your GSTR 3B for the month of November. You filed your GSTR 3B for the month of November. You added some ITC for FY 21-22. Whether you are allowed to claim that ITC in your November GSTR 3B, which is related to FY 21-22. I could see answer from Rahul says no, Ganesh says no, Krishna Kumari says no, Jignesh says no, Saga says no, Navina says no. So everyone is saying no. Again, is a correct answer. You cannot claim your ITC related to FY 21-22 in your November GSTR 3B. So the maximum time limit till when you can claim that ITC, if you are a monthly filer, then it is your October return period. And if you're a quarterly filer, then it would be July, August, September quarter, right? That is 3B filing, till when you can actually claim the ITC, which is related to your FY 21-22. Now, let me ask you another simple question. Think about you had to file your GSTR 3B, right? You filed your GSTR 3B for the month of October. Here, what you have done, you have shown some ITC, which is again related to your FY 21-22. But you file your GSTR 3B on 1st December. Whether you are allowed to claim any ITC related to FY 21-22, which you have filed on 1st December. And I could see that there is an answer which is going. Okay, Dipali says no, Ganesh says no, Saga says no, Kedar says no. So Raja Raman says no, Tejas says no, Nitin. So everyone is saying no, which is again the right answer, right? Because the maximum time limit till when I can claim ITC, which is related to my previous year, was till 30th November. So that return should be filed till 30th November. So if I'm delaying in filing that return also, then I'm not allowed to claim that ITC. Now let me come back to our section 16.4. So why I was even asking all this question. Let's assume there was a supplier, right? So we know that there was a supplier and this supplier has not filed his GST1 for the month of March 2022. He realized that yes, he has not filed his GST1 for the month of March. So because of some problem, he could not file that. Now on, let's say 1st December 2022, right? So for on 1st December 2022, he actually filed his GST1 for the month of March 2022, right? So can he file the return? Obviously he can file because government want revenue run. When he shows in GST1, he will be showing that in 3B also, and accordingly file his GST1 and 3B, and will also pay the liability to the government. Right, so here he has filed this information in their GSTR1. Accordingly, you are able to see this information in your GSTR2B also. But my question is, now are you eligible to claim this ITC? Rahul says no, Jignesh says no, Soma says no, Krishna Kumar says no, Sagar says no. So everyone is saying no, and which is again the right answer, because this is a kind of a time barred thing. So maximum time limit till when you could have claimed this ITC was till your 30th November, which is till October return period. And since this will be reflecting in my GSTR 2B for the month of December, which will be downloaded on 14th of January, I'm not allowed to claim this ITC. So now when you look into your GSTR 2B, this will also be coming under the ITC not available section. So we do have a section called ITC not available. So when you download your GSTR 2B, you will see this will be under ITC not available, and accordingly you will not be allowed to claim the ITC in respect of this transaction. So here again the government says that you have to show this information in 4D2. Right, so which means if there is something as an ITC not available which is coming in your GSTR 2B, and today we have this because of two things. One is your because of the POS thing, or second is time bar. These are the only two kind of transaction which today comes under the ITC not available as per your GSTR 2B. Both of these invoices you have to show, or credit note, so you have to even show you have to subtract that value. You directly have to show this information in table number 4D2 of your GSTR 3B. So this was like a first part when we just talk about showing the ITC which is not available as per your GSTR 2B, and you have to show this value. We all understand there is a also recently, if you would know, there is a section 38, right? So the government, they have also notified that. So section 38 is also notified, where they have kept more condition where you can't claim ITC. But we also at the same time understand that every condition which was given in section number 38 required some notification, it requires some rules to be given. Unless we have the rule, we cannot even follow this section 38. Whenever the government comes up with that rules, then you would see that there would be further change in this GSTR 3B form, and they will put or add that condition in 4D2. But as of now, if you ask me whether that section 38 do we have to even follow, I would say no, we cannot follow that. The reason is because they are not rules. We don't know, we can't even follow that. Even if we want to follow that section 38, we cannot follow it, right? So today, if you ask me, these are the two reasons what is coming as an ITC not available in your GSTR 2B, and you have to show that value directly in table number 4D2. I will also talk about other things, because you would have a lot of confusion. What if there was some invoice which is coming in my, let's say 2B as a ITC not available, but I have not even recorded my that as my purchases. I have not even received the goods and all. Do I have to report that information here or not? Right, there could be another question like that. What if, let's say in the previous month I have shown that is an ITC not available, but let's say in this current month I have only a credit note under that particular section. Now because it's a negative figure, government don't allow me to punch the negative figure here. So how am I going to report that information in 4D2? That could be another question. So we are going to discuss about all of these queries, which is the practical problem which you are going to face while you file your GSTR 3B, and what exactly we have to do in this all cases. So we will be discussing about all of these scenarios in detail. So, but before that, let me first explain about what are the changes, and then I will talk about all of these case things, right? All of this case study, like what exactly you have to do in different scenarios. Now, the next important part. So, till now, I just said that what is coming as an ITC not available in your GSTR 2B, you directly report that information in table number 4D2. Right? Now, the second important part, the second example, I would say, let's say again you are registered in the state of Karnataka. When you were registered in the state of the Karnataka, let's say you ordered some food and beverages for your employees. We all understand when we purchase some food and beverages for our employee, this is again considered as an ineligible ITC as per section 17, subsection number 5. We know that as per section 17, subsection 5, the government have given some information, or they have given some category where I cannot claim the ITC. It could be because of, let's say, I have purchased a motor vehicle. So if I have purchased a motor vehicle, right, that is again covered under section 17, subsection 5. Again, obviously there is exception to that. Let's say if I am into the business where I am buying and selling the motor vehicle, or I am a transport passenger services and all, where I can always claim ITC. But in general, if you ask me that, let's say if I am purchasing motor vehicle, I cannot claim ITC, so it's covered under 17.5. Or maybe there's some food and beverages or rent a cab services, right? So they have given some conditions over there where I'm not allowed to claim ITC as per section 17, subsection number 5. Now, if I talk about this, here we all understand. Assume if I have purchased from a registered supplier and I would have given the GST to them. First question is whether the supplier will file his GST1 and show that invoice. Obviously, that person is going to show that invoice is a B2B invoice, right? Now, the second important part, would government know? Now, you only tell me, in respect of the conditions which has been mentioned in section 17, subsection number 5, whether the GSTN, by looking into the invoice which has been submitted by the supplier in the GST1, will be able to define that this is an ITC which is not available as per section 17, subsection 5. So you can just reply in the chat box whether the government, the GSTN, can define by looking into the invoice which is coming in the GST1 which has been filed by the supplier, that this is an ineligible ITC as per section 17, subsection 5. I could see the answer from Rahul, who said no, the government cannot define. Saga says no. Namina says no. Ketan says no. Jignesh says maybe based on HSN. Again, Jignesh, from basis HSN also they cannot define, because for that they should also know what is the nature of the business of the recipient, right? Maybe let's say for a motor vehicle, I gave an example, right? For HSN, let's say it was not eligible. But when we look into that, I'm into business of passenger transport service, I was allowed to claim that ITC. So you have to put lot of conditions over there, and many times people only mention 6-digit HSN. So for 8-digit, the description would be different. For 6-digit, it could be common for many things. So it's not even possible for them to define that. So here, if you, and I think most of you have just answered that you cannot, the government GSTN cannot define that, and which is right thing also, right? So which means now when you had purchased some food and beverages for your business purpose, you would know that this would have been categorized as ITC available. Assuming my supplier was compliant, I purchased some food and beverages and it is covered. Assume that this is covered under section 17, subsection 5, where I am not eligible to claim ITC. So this is something which is coming as ITC available in my GSTR 2B. So for this, if you ask me, before this August 2022, right, what I was doing most of the time, I used to expense it out. Right? I was never even bringing that into my ledgers, right? I'm like, okay, I can't claim ITC. Let's say I have purchased something for 10,000 rupees and assume that I have paid some, let's say I have paid some GST of 1,800 rupees. So for this 11,800, I used to directly expense it out. I was like, okay, my some employees benefit expenses account debit to my, so I used to just to vendor. I never used to show that GST amount separately at all, right? If people even do that, so we used to show that information directly under 4D2. So even if people or taxpayer used to maintain it separately, most of us used to directly report this under table number 4D1 in that previous thing which we were filing when we used to file GST 3B. But now the government have made an important change over here, where they says that when it comes to even the ineligible ITC, You keep a track, you do the matching between your purchase register and the 2B, and see that okay, this something, this is that value, this is the invoices which is coming in your GSTR 2B, but you are not allowed to claim ITC because of section 17.5. So first you put this information in table number 4A5. Let's say I gave an example of 10,000 was an amount and I paid, let's say, so I paid some GST of 1800. So they are saying that first you put that 1800 ka GST in table number 4A5, and then you do a permanent reversal in table number 4B1, so that when you look into the net figure in table number 4C, that will be zero. So ultimately in electronic credit ledger, the value which goes in, you're not claiming anything. But when it comes to reporting purpose, like how exactly we have to report this information, this says that first you add in table number 4A5, and then you do a permanent reversal over here under 4B1. So this is like another important change which has been done by the government, where we also have to keep a track of the ineligible ITC. Where first I have to add it and then I have to subtract it, so that accordingly government can always match this information with what is coming in 2B, right? So that is what government is trying to do. Sorry. So what they're trying, they're saying ultimately the value which is coming in table number 4A5 should always match with an ITC which is coming in your GSTR 2B. That is what government is trying to do. But obviously there would be certain scenario where it will not match. So let's discuss about that scenarios too. But when you look into the intention of the government, what they're saying, the value which you're going to report in 4A5 will match with the value which is coming in GSTR 2B. Now the next change. Okay, we got it that even let's say I gave an example of food and beverages which was coming as a ITC available in my GSTR 2B, but I was not allowed to claim that ITC. So the government says that you show in 4A5 and do the permanent reversal under 4B1. And I could see there's another question from Jignesh. So Jignesh, I will answer that question too, that what exactly we have to do that. So maybe before that, I will give you another example and then I will come back to your query over here. So now the another part is that here when we talk about a case, right, where we said that, okay, there was an invoice, and I think that is what Jignesh also just asked. So now the question is that, let's assume there was an invoice. My supplier was a compliant supplier. I purchased something from supplier and supplier has accounted that invoice. Let's say I purchased something in the month of September. When I purchased something in the month of September, I could see that the supplier has also uploaded this invoice or filed his GSTR 1 on time, and I could see this invoice in my GSTR 2B for the month of September, which I have downloaded on 14th October. So I could see this particular invoice also. But I received this goods on, let's say, 1st October, right? I purchased something on 30th of September. Supplier filed his GSTR 1 on time. I could see this information in my GSTR 2B also, which I downloaded on 14th of October for the month of September. So I could see this information there itself. But I recorded this particular invoice in my books of account on 1st October, since I received this goods on 1st October. Right? So which means while I was filing my GSTR 3B for the month of September, I cannot claim this ITC. The reason is because one of the another condition to claim that ITC is that you should receive the goods or the services. So in this particular example, since I have not received the goods, even if this particular document or invoice was coming or reflecting in my GSTR 2B, still I was not allowed to claim the ITC, right? But as I told you, what government is trying to do? Government is trying to do the value which is coming in table number 4A5 should match with the value which is appearing in your GSTR 2B. So here what government says that you report this value wherever that invoice which was, so when you try to match this, right? So this is nothing but it's a kind of missing in PR. Right? So whatever is missing in PR, what you have to do, you have to first add this invoice in table number 4A5. So you add that tax amount in 4A5 and then you have to do a temporary reversal. Then there is a temporary reversal which you have to do in 4B2. So what you are doing? First add this information in 4A5 and then you do a temporary reversal and show this information in 4B2. So while you file your GSTR 3B for the month of September, you have to first add this information in 4A5 and then you subtract and show this value in 4B2. So ultimately when you look into the 4C, you would have not claimed any ITC in the month of September. But now what happened? All right, you were not allowed to claim ITC in the month of September. Okay. If you look into your GSTR 3B also, right? Whenever you match the value of 4A5 with the 2B, it will also match, right? Because you have shown that value in 4A5. But let's go to the next month now. When you go into the next month, let's say you are in the month of October. Now, when you downloaded your GSTR 2B for the month of October, in that particular case, my question to all of you, whether that invoice which was reflecting in the month of September will also reflect in the month of October in my GSTR 2B? I could see answer from Niranjan, Jignesh, Nikshit, Ganesh. Everyone says no, right? So everyone is saying no, and which is again the right answer. Obviously, it will not be reflecting, right? Because this was filed by my supplier in their GST 1 for the month of September return period, which was again filed on time. So that was reflecting in my 2B of September month. So it will not be appearing in my October return period. Next question is, am I allowed to claim the ITC in the month of October GSTR 3B? Can I claim that ITC in respect of that particular invoice in my October return period? So I could see answer from Ganesh says yes. Mayuresh says yes. Jignesh says yes. Rajesh Sagar says yes. Balasubramaniam, Soma, everyone is saying yes, which is again the right answer. So I can always claim that ITC, right? So where exactly I'm going to claim that ITC? So I will be showing this information in 4A5. Right? Because I am allowed to claim that ITC in the month of October since this invoice is coming in my PR, and in 2B also in the previous month it was coming up. So I have to claim that ITC. So I will claim that ITC in 4A5. But now the question is, when I claim this ITC and show this information in 4A5, then this amount will not match with that ITC which is coming in my GSTR 2B. Because when we look into my October return period, in October my 2B, this value was not coming because this was coming in my September 2B. So what government says, in this case, you have to claim ITC in 4A5, perfectly okay. But at the same time, you also have to declare this value in table number 4D1. Now, when you declare, so what exactly this 4D1 says, that this is an ITC which is reclaimed, which was reversed under table 4B2 in earlier tax period. Because in my previous months, whenever I have reversed some value and now I'm trying to claim that amount, in that particular case, I also have to report this value in table number 4D1. Right? So here now, when we look into that equation which you are trying to say, that the ITC, whatever you're claiming in 4A5 will always match the ITC with the value which is coming in my GSTR 2B plus the value which I'm showing in 4D1. Right? So the ITC which I'm claiming in my 4A5 will always match with an ITC which is coming in my 2B plus the value which I have shown in my table number 4D1. So that is how the government is going to match the value when they try to raise the notices on you. So if there is a discrepancy in this equation, right, so they will definitely raise a notice on you that why there is such discrepancy. But now question is whether that value will always match. Can there be real reasons where this value will not match? So let's talk about that example, right? So here I said that you have to do some temporary reversal in the first month, and the second month you just claim that ITC in 4A5 and at the same time show that value in table number 4D1. But the question is, can there be some problems over here? The answer would be definitely yes. Now let's talk about some practical cases where we always see this problem. I talked about the invoices and the debit note. I talk about something called ITC available, ITC not available. My first question is, whenever I was looking into this equation or whenever I was talking about that 4A5 should always equal to my GSTR 2B plus the value which is coming in table number 4D1. Now when I'm saying that ITC as per my 2B, whether that ITC as per 2B is the ITC available part or also the ITC not available. So whenever I look into this equation, in that equation, when I'm referring to this GSTR 2B, whether it only has the ITC available part or it also includes the ITC not available, you can answer on the chat box. So whenever I'm saying 2B, whenever I'm looking into this equation, whether it only have to take, like when we have to consider, should we only take ITC available or we should also take ITC not available? I could see answer from Ketan says both, Niranjan says both, Hina says both, Vidya says. Are we sure? I would just suggest think once again that whenever I am saying ITC available or ITC not available, and whenever I am looking into that equation that 4A5 should be equal to 2B plus the value which is coming in 4D1, in that particular case, will it be only ITC available or it will be ITC available plus ITC not available? Okay, Mayuresh says available only. Saga says ITC available. Navina says available. Vidya says ITC available. Okay, now the people have, I think, changed the answer. Okay, so just think about that, whether it is only ITC available or it is ITC available plus not available. So, okay, so I think most of you have said either both or you have said ITC available. So the answer over here is that this will be only ITC available. Why it is only ITC available? Because when it comes to the ITC not available, right, we were never including that in 4A5. We are never subtracting in table number 4B. We were directly reporting that information in our table 4D2, right? Whatever was ITC not available, we were directly reporting in 4D2. We never have to add it, we never have to subtract it. So whenever I was looking into this 2B for that particular equation, it is only the ITC available. It does not include the ITC not available as per GSTR 2B. Right? So right now I'm not talking about this availability as per purchase register, because there can always be condition as per 17.5, right, where it is not available. So that part always it's included, because I'm referring to 2B here. I'm not looking into PR, right? Whenever I'm referring to 2B, 2B has two parts. One is ITC available, another is ITC not available. So here, whenever I'm saying, I'm talking about ITC available. Now let me ask you another question. When we look into this ITC available, inside that only, you may always get two kinds of transaction. One is under reverse charge. There can always be a supplier, right? Who may say that, okay, you as a recipient is liable to pay the taxes on that and I am not liable to pay. I could give you one example. Let's say there were some advocate services, right? And you are into business and you availed some advocate services and that advocate was registered. An advocate filed his GST1, but he said that you are liable to pay for this legal services and all, because here the recipient is liable to pay under the reverse charge. He filed his GST1, he showed something under the reverse charge. You were able to see this information also in your GST2B as ITC available, but here the reverse charge flag was why. My next question to all of you. When I was saying this GSTR2B, when I looked into that value, that in table number 4A5, the value should be 2B plus the value which is coming in 4D1. Here, when I was referring to 2B, whether it also includes this reverse charge transaction or it excludes this reverse charge transaction. I could see the answer from Jignesh. Jignesh says no. What about others? Whenever I am looking into 2B, here whether this reverse charge transactions are excluded or it is also included. I could see answer from Navina says excluded, Niranjan says excluded, Mayuresh says yes, Vidya says excluded, Saga says no, Shita says excluded. So most of you are saying it is excluded, which is again the right answer. Why? Why it is not included? Why we don't consider the reverse charge transaction when I am looking into the 4A5 value? Because we all understand that wherever it's an inward supply which is liable to reverse charge, that value we keep in table number 4A3. Any ITC which is related to my reverse charge, I claim in table number 4A3. So when I'm looking into the 2B for my purpose of 4A5, if there are some transaction which is for reverse charge, that should not be considered, right? So whenever I'm looking into this equation, which is 4A5 should be equal to my 2B tax amount plus the value which is coming in table number 4D1. In that particular case, what we have to do while I'm considering this 2B, I should not include the transition which is covered under the reverse charge, right? So this is how we have to consider. But now I have one important question over here, because this is something which is actually more confusing, and now we will get into complications part. So till now it was very clean, right? Now let me ask you another important part. When you look into your GSTR 2B, right? When we look into our GSTR 2B, we know that 2B have some invoices, it has some debit note, it also has some credit note. My question to all of you today, if you have looked into this, that many of us, we know that the government, whenever they show that value, right, when they auto populate the value from your GST 2B, they populate the invoices and the debit note in 4A5, and they populate the credit note in table number 4B2, right? That is how they auto calculate from 2B to 3B. That was there in the old one also, that is there on the new one also. Many times we used to show the net figure in 4A5. Many times we also used to show separately. It all depends on the business to business, that how exactly they want to show it. Now my question is that whenever I was looking into this condition of 4A5, question is whether it only have this invoices and the debit note, or it also considered credit note. So whenever I was looking into that condition of 4A5 is equal to 2B ka tax amount plus whatever the value which is coming in my 41, whether it only includes the invoices and the debit note, or it also includes the credit note. I could see the answer from Niranjan, who says only invoices and debit note. Jignesh says credit note also. Navina says only invoices and debit note. What about others? Kavita says only invoices and debit note. Saga says credit note also. All right, so most of the people are saying that only invoice and the debit note. Some people say that it also includes credit note. So today, if you ask me, right, when the GSTN is auto-populating that value, right? So since they auto-populate the value of the invoices and the debit note in 4A5, when it comes to credit note, they show in 4B2. So whenever we are looking into this transaction, we only have to consider the invoices and the debit note. We should not consider credit note over here, because for this credit note, we have to do a separate treatment. And I will actually talk about that treatment, that what exactly we have to do for the credit note. But now when we were looking into this condition, we only have to look into the invoices and the debit note, right? So this was some of the changes. Now let's talk about some cases. And you only have to answer that what exactly has to be done here, right? Let's talk about, there was one invoice which was coming in your GSTR 2B. Let's say you are filing your GSTR 3B for the month of uh, let's say September. So you're trying to file your GSTR 3B for the month of September. And my question to all of you is that there was one invoice which is coming in your GSTR 2B. Let's say the tax amount is 1,000 rupees. And the same invoice you can even see in your purchase register, and the entire amount was eligible ITC. As per your PR, you are eligible to claim the entire ITC. My question is that where exactly you are going to populate that 1,000 rupees in your GSTR 3B. In 2B for the month of September, you can see 1,000 rupees, and as well as in your purchase register, you can see 1,000 rupees, and the entire amount was an eligible ITC. Where exactly you are going to populate while you file your GSTR 3B for the month of September? I could see the answer from Jignesh, who says 4A5, Nikshit says 4A5, Rajaraman says 4A5, Nitin says 4A5, Vidya says 4A5. So everybody is saying 4A5, which is the correct answer. Let me ask you second question. What happened that there was again supplier who was very compliant. This invoice, again there was an ITC of 1,000 rupees which was coming in your GSTR 2B, and you have also seen your purchase register, but out of that 1,000 rupees you were eligible to claim only 800 rupees, and the rest 200 was an ineligible ITC as per section 17 subsection 5. My question to you is how much amount you are going to show in different tables of GSTR 3B. Here, as per the ITC, as per your GSTR 2B, ITC available as per 2B is 1,000 rupees, and you are eligible to claim only 800 rupees as per your purchase register. How exactly you are going to populate this value in your table number 4 of GSTR 3B? I could see answer from Jignesh, who says 1,000 in 4A5. Ketan says 800 in 4A5, 200 in 4B2. Jignesh says 200 in 4B1. Mayuresh says, Ashwin says 1,000 in 4A5, 200 4B as an ITC reversals. Navina says 1,000 4A5, 200 4B1. All right, I think most of you were able to answer it correctly. So here, what we said that the entire eligible ITC. So ITC as per the 2B, right? The ITC which is available as per the 2B, we are going to show in 4A5. So what we have to do in 4A5, you have to show the ITC of 1000 rupees. But since you were allowed to claim the ITC of only 800 rupees, so that 200 rupees which was ineligible ITC as per section 17.5, so you have to do a permanent reversal. So 1000 you will show in 4A5, and that 200 remaining 200 you have to show in 4B1, because you were allowed to claim ITC of only 800. So net 4C, right? When we look into the 4C, the value of 800 will go and sit in your electronic credit ledger. What we have to do, 4A5 show 1000 rupees, 4B1 you just show 200 rupees. So as the net value of 800 rupees will go and sit in your electronic credit ledger, right? Now let's talk about another example. There was some amount, again the supplier was compliant and the supplier has uploaded this invoice in their GSTR 1, and I was able to see this invoice in my GSTR 2B. Same value 1000 rupees was coming and reflecting in my GSTR 2B. But I have not recorded this invoice in my GS or books of account, or I have not received the goods and the services, so I have not recorded this invoice in my purchase register. So this invoice is coming in 2B but missing in my purchase register. My question to all of you, how exactly you are going to show this transition in your GSTR 3B? There was 1000 rupees ITC which is reflecting in my 2B, but I have not received the goods. So I was not allowed to claim that ITC in the current month. My question is, while you're filing your GSTR 3B for the current month, how exactly you are going to show this information? I could see answer from Vidya who says 1000 in 4A5, 1000 in 4B2. Jignesh says add in 4A5, reverse in 4B2. Sivesh says add in 4A5, show in 4B2. Mahalakshmi says 4A5, 4B2. I think most of you are actually saying the right answer, and which is exactly the right answer. What exactly you have to do? 1000 rupees show in 4A5, and since you are not allowed to claim that ITC in respect of that particular invoice in the current month, so you have to do a temporary reversal and you have to show this information in 4B2, which is a temporary reversal while you file the return for the month of September. Now let's talk about the October month. In October, you were able to see this particular purchase invoice, but in 2B, this invoice was not coming. Same invoice, right? So same invoice now, which was coming in September in 2B, but you were not allowed to claim ITC. Now in October month, you have received this invoice and you have even recorded this invoice in your purchase register. So while you file your GSTR 3B for the month of October, what exactly you have to do? I could see the answer from Jignesh says claim in 4A5, report in 4D1. Nitin says 4A5, Kalpesh says 4D1, Mahalakshmi says 4A5, 4D1, Rajaraman says 4D1. So here the answer is that you have to claim that ITC in table number 4A5. So in 4A5, you will claim that ITC and report the same information in 4D1. So you have to claim ITC in 4A5, so that in 4C automatically this value will sit in your electronic credit ledger. But for the declaration purpose, you again have to report this information in 4D1. Right? So this is how exactly you have to report this information. Let's take another example. There was an invoice which is there in your purchase register, but supplier was not compliant at all. So supplier has not filed his GSTR 1, and when the supplier has not filed his GSTR 1, this invoice was also not reflecting in your GSTR 2B. So supplier has not filed his GSTR 1, invoice is not reflecting in your GSTR 2B, but this invoice was there as per your purchase register. My question to all of you is, how exactly this transition has to be reported in your GSTR 3B for the month of September? Supplier has not filed his GSTR 1, invoice was not reflecting in 2B for the month of September, but you had received the goods and the services. You recorded this invoice also in your purchase register. So in this particular case, my question to all of you, how exactly you have to report this information in your GSTR 3B? I could see the answer from Jagannathan, who says not to be reported. Jignesh, no ITC to be claimed. And Ganesh says not reported. Nitin says 4B2. Sumit says 4A5, 4B2. Jignesh says to be carried forward to the next period. Kalpesh not allowed to claim ITC is not shown in 2B. Mahalakshmi says not reporting. And I think most of you are saying the correct answer. Since this particular invoice is not even reflecting in my GSTR 2B, I'm not allowed to claim ITC. And in this particular case, I don't even have to report this information in my GSTR 3B. So wherever the cases where you have missing in 2B, so whenever you try to match it and it's missing in 2B, though it is coming in your PR, in that particular case, you don't even have to show this ITC in your GSTR 3B. So this particular document will not be even reported in your GSTR 3B, but you have to separately track this invoice and make sure whenever this ITC or this invoice comes and reflect in your GSTR 2B, in that particular month, you just go ahead and claim the ITC. Right? So this was about the another example where the transaction was missing, right? Let me now take one other example. So here, till now we just talked about invoices, and the same treatment will be for the debit note also. Now let me talk about credit note. There can also be a case of credit note. My question was, assume that there was a credit note which is coming in your GSTR 2B, and the same credit note was also recorded in your purchase register. Let's say there was a 10 rupees ka credit note, the value, the IGST or the tax amount was 10 rupees. This credit note was coming and reflecting in GSTR 2B, and in your purchase register also, this credit note was reflecting. My question is, how exactly you are going to report this transaction in your GSTR 2B? There was a credit note coming in 2B, as well as the same time this credit note is also coming in your PR. How exactly you have to report this information in your GSTR 3B? I could see answer from Jignesh, who says 4B2, Vidya says 4B2, Mahalashmi says 4B2, Nitin says 4B2, Navina says 4B2, and which is again the right answer. So here we are going to show this information in 4B2. Now let me ask you another question. There was an ITC, or I would say there was a credit note which was coming in your GSTR 2B. It was reflecting in your this particular 2B. But in this particular example, what happened? You haven't received any credit note at all. You have not received any credit note, or maybe there was a case that you had received one invoice earlier, and since you received only 80 quantity, and you accordingly claim the ITC only for 80 rupees. So here the question is the credit note. So this is now reflecting in your GSTR 2B, but not in your purchase register. How exactly you are going to report this transaction in your GSTR 3B? There was a credit note reflecting in your GSTR 2B, but not in your purchase register. So what exactly you are going to do while you're declaring or filing your GSTR 3B? I could see answer from Nitin says 4A5 in the 4B2, Vidya says 4A5 in the 4B2. Okay, so what about others? There was a credit note reflecting in 2B, but not in your purchase register. I could see answer from Mahalashmi, who says not reporting. What about others? Now, if you ask me, right, in that particular case, if there is a credit note, right, so in that particular case, you don't even have to show that. So if there's a credit note, see, when it comes to 4A5, 4B2, all that reversal thing, right, that is only applicable for the invoices and the debit note. But when it comes to credit note, since you have never claimed that ITC, right, so there's no question of reversal also. So even if this credit note is coming in your GSTR 2B, you don't even have to show because you had never claimed that ITC. So why would you even reduce your liability or reduce your ITC over here, right? Now let me ask you another question. What happened? There was a credit note which is coming in your purchase register, but this particular amount was not there in 2B. So there was some credit note. So as per you, you had to do some ITC reversal, but this is not reflecting that credit note is not coming in your GSTR 2B. My question to all of you, how exactly you are going to report this transaction while you file your GSTR 3B? I could see one question from Mahalashmi is asking, what if you have claimed ITC? Mahalashmi, if you had claimed ITC and you know that you have to reverse some ITC, then you should declare that information 4B2. So here, Jignesh says carry forward to the next period. Nitin says no reporting. Kavita says 4B2. Navina says 4A5, 4B2. Mayuri says 4B2. So here, if you ask me, right, as per your purchase register, you know that, let's say there were some free samples or something, right? You know that you had to reverse that ITC. So if you know that there is some ITC which has to be reversed, in that particular case, even if it was not coming or it was not reflecting in your GSTR 2B, you still have to do that reversal and you have to show that value in 4B2. And if it's a permanent reversal, then show that value in 4B1. Right? So here, in the respect of this credit note, you have to. So if it is coming in PR and even if it is not coming or reflecting in your GSTR 2B, still you should reverse that ITC and show that value in 4B2. Right? So this was about the credit note thing. So this was some of the examples which we discussed when it comes to showing that ITC. But now let me also ask you. So there was always a case, right? We keep on saying. Let's assume that in April 2022, right? April 2022, you were able to see one invoice which was reflecting in the GSTR 2B, but you had not claimed ITC in that particular month. And in fact, you have not even claimed that ITC till now. So when you have not claimed that ITC, in that particular case, my question to all of you is that there was an ITC reflecting in 2B for the month of April 2022. So when there was an ITC which is reflecting in the month of April 2022, now let's say in the month of December, while you're filing your GSTR 3B for the month of November, you realize that now you have received the goods and now it is available and you want to claim that ITC. Can you claim that ITC? First question. There was an invoice which was for the month of April 2022, and do you want to claim ITC in the month of December? Can you claim or not? I could say answer for Mayuresh, Jignesh, Karesh, everyone saying yes. Ketan Sagar says yes, Kalpesh says yes, Nitin says yes. Perfectly, everyone is saying yes. How exactly you have to declare that information? Where exactly you have to show that information while you file your GST 3B for the month of December? I could see Navina says 4A5. Okay, so Navina says 4A5, Raghavendra says 4A5, Jignesh says 4A5. So everyone is saying 4A5, and which is again the correct answer. You have to claim that ITC in table number 4A5, and which is exactly the right answer. But at the same time, you should remember one thing. In the starting, I talked about one condition, right? I always say that the ITC which is coming in the 4A5 should always match with the ITC which is coming in 2B, but that exclude the reverse charge of ITC not available, plus the value which is coming in 4D1. In this case, it will not match. So in that case, it is always advisable to all of you that we know that all these changes was applicable from your all these changes was applicable from your August 2022 return period. So if you have not done these changes till now, it's recommended that you do a reconciliation, which is a one-time reconciliation till your April 2022 return period, because I'm not talking about the previous year now, because for previous year you would have already filed your October return, right? In October return you would have already done all the adjustments which was there. If there was some ITC which was allowed but you have not claimed, you would have already claimed it. So now what you have to do from your April 2022 return period till let's say November, right? So let's assume now I have to file in December month for the month of November. So till your November return period, if you have not done this, you do all the reconciliation. If there was some ITC which is reflecting in 2B but not in your purchase register, just show that entire ITC amount in 4A5 and do a temporary reversal in 4B2, right? So in that month, even if that there's some ITC, just show in 4A5 and do a temporary reversal in 4B2, so that in future, in the next month, let's say now when you file for your December month, that ITC comes and reflects in your PR, right, the purchase register. You can directly show that information in 4A5 and 4D1, right? So that reconciliation entry would only be in 1 month, right? So that entire reconciliation entry is only in 1 month, where you can explain to the department that I know that this is an ITC I have claimed and reversed, and this is ITC related to this period. So it was reflecting in my 2B. So there's a reconciliation entry only in 1 month. From the next month onwards, you will always be able to explain that to the department, because every time you claim in 4A5, you will also show that information in 4D1. So you will never see the differences at all in the remaining month. So it's always advisable that you always show entry, make a reconciliation entry only in a single month and the future month, because till October 2023, I'm allowed to claim any ITC which was related to my FY 22-23. So in that case, the differences before this transition even happened, you do only in a single month, right? So this was some of the important changes which was there in respect of the GSTR 3B, which have actually changed the way we even file our GSTR 3B. And to help you out with how exactly we can even automate, so ClearText have actually come up with a solution where you just have to reconcile in a single click between 2B and the purchase register. Once you reconcile and take certain actions where you can claim ITC or mark it as a pending, automatically that result will flow in different table number 4 of GSTR 3B with the tracking record, where you would know at each and every invoice that for this invoice, is it going in 4A5 or 4B1 or 4B2 or 4D1. So at each invoice level, you will be able to track that how exactly this invoice is going. And even in the next month, if something was marked as a pending and all, right, even in the next month it will show that, hey, now this has been matched with a different document, you have to claim ITC, so that you can claim ITC, and accordingly that can be populated in your GSTR 3B in the respective table. So the ClearTax have come up with that, so you can always explore the software, where you will see that automatic result from the reconciliation will flow and sit in your table number 4 of GSTR 3B, right? And we have also shared one feedback form. So I would request everyone, if you can just open and share your feedback in respect of like how was the session, and also if you have any further queries, you can always feel free to mail me at surbi@cleartext.in or at gstsupport@cleartext.in. So that's our mail ID. So you can always drop a mail over there. And I think some of you are also asking about the recording. So yes, we will also be sharing this recording. And even if you want this PPT, I would suggest if you can just mail us at gstsupport@cleartext.in. We'll be sharing both the PPT. Recording you will anyhow get after the end of the session. So you can always look into and view this recording. And I think there's another question from Mahalakshmi, who is asking, what about the B2B amendment in GSTR 2B? So Mahalakshmi, when it comes to B2B amendment, right? So I will give you one simple example here. Think about in September, the supplier had filed 1,000 rupees, right? So when the supplier has filed the value with 1,000 rupees, but you know that you were eligible to claim the ITC of 1,200. So this invoice which was uploaded by the supplier was not even correct. You requested the supplier to amend this invoice. So in that particular month, you have not even claimed that ITC because it was like a kind of a document which was not correctly uploaded by your supplier. So you just mark it as a pending, right? So in September month, what you would have done, you would have shown this information in 4A5 1,000 rupees, and in 4B2 you would have shown 1,000 rupees, which is a temporary reversal, right? Now in the next month, let's say this particular supplier has corrected this invoice and shown 1,200 rupees, right? So when this person, the supplier, has shown 1,200 rupees, now when you look into your GST 2B summary, there you will see 200 rupees. Whenever you look into document level information in that 2B, you would be seeing 1,200 rupees. So now in the next month, in the October month, what you have to do, now let's assume now you are eligible to claim the entire ITC. As per your purchase register, you are allowed to claim the entire ITC. So when you are allowed to claim the entire ITC, what you have to do, in 4A5, right? 4A5, you claim the entire amount, which is 1,200. So 4A5, you claim 1,200, but at the same time, because in the previous month you have done some ITC reversal in 4B2, right? So that amount, the 1,000 rupees which you had reversed in the previous month, you have to show that information in 4D1. So that is how exactly this information has to be shown in case of amendment. This was just one example. There can also be case, let's say in September month, you had claimed that 1,000 rupees. So when you saw this invoice, you just claimed 1,000 rupees in that month itself. You have not reversed anything. So if that was the case where you have already claimed 1,000 rupees, so September month in you would have shown 4A5,000. So now in October month, again, you can just show 4A5 me 200 rupees, which is a differential amount. So this is how you have to report the transaction. Now the another question from Vinayak, who is saying, hi ma'am, we have missed the ITC credit in October month, still in GST annual return within 30 November. Can we declare that? Vinayak, no. So when it comes to claiming of the ITC, right, we can only claim the ITC through GSTR 3B form. We cannot claim the ITC through GSTR 9 form. So the ITC claim part should always be done through our GSTR 3B form. There's another question from Rabi, who is saying, if credit note is appearing in 4B2, which is not in, and no such transaction has occurred, it is reducing my net ITC. How should I remove that amount from my 3B? So Ravi, so the government, even if they're auto computing, it is allowing you to edit that form. So you can always edit that values, whatever is coming in your GSTR 3B form, and accordingly file with the correct value, which is the actual net ITC, which you have to show in your electronic credit ledger. So you can always do that. All right, I think we are done with all the queries which was there on the chat box. Still, in case if some of the queries are not answered, I would just suggest you can always feel free to mail us at gstsupport@cleartext.in. That's our mail ID, or you can even mail me at surbi@cleartext.in. So that's my mail ID. So we will happy to answer you over there. And at the same time, I would just recommend or suggest, if you can have any further topics which you are interested in, so feel free to write to us so that we can take the session on the topics which you are interested in. So we will be happy to you like answer your all queries. Thank you very much. And also for people who wants to take the session, like, or want to see like how exactly this will be solved via clear text product, so you can also request for the demo, so we'll happy to even show you the demo of how exactly the value in different table of GSTR 3B will be populated from your 2B versus PR reconciliation. So thank you very much.